Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abbaim. Agitin Erev Shabbos, Parshas Vayikra, somewhat Shabbos Hagadol, especially if you go to a drasha, and this week is a Shabbos Hagadol drasha. Hopefully, I want to take the opportunity to invite everyone to Shabbos Hagadol drasha. It is 6 p.m. tomorrow. I hope everybody could come. I don't care that you live in Brooklyn. What does that have to do with it? You know, figure out how you could spend Shabbos over here. You still have time, even if you're in Eretz Yisrael. What are you doing there for this Shabbos? I mean, it's good that you're there, but at least this week, please make sure everybody's there. I take attendance and make sure you're on time. And don't say you walked the whole night so you're tired. You'll have to figure out how to stay up also. Some guy just spoke in the Senate for 25 hours straight, okay? So it's only 1 hour. I want to take the opportunity to remind everyone you have the opportunity to get the Haggadah in English. You could order it, artscroll.com. You could get it in Spanish, you could get it in French, and also the Machon Maggid Harakiah on Pesach in Lashon HaKodesh. Okay, here we go. The first topic today, we're going to speak about connecting the beginning and end of Parshas Vayikra. We call it Pesacheinu Megadim. Pesacheinu Megadim. We know that Vayikra has a small aleph in it, and the Baal HaTurim says that Moshe was an anav, and therefore he only wanted to write Vayikar, a lashon of mikra, like as if Hashem only spoke to him in a dream, like Hashem spoke to Bilam, like Hashem appeared to him happenstance. So Hashem said, no, don't write Vayikra, write an aleph. So Moshe said, no, I don't want it to read Vayikra, so he made it small. So the small aleph is reflective of Moshe Rabbeinu's humility. Also, by the way, the words El Moshe, of course, El Moshe, Moshe is the paragon of humility. Now, how does the Parsha end? V'nislach loy al achas mikol asher yaseh la'ashma ba. There's a Sefer Yehuda Yala on Mishlei. He says, interpreting the pasuk, Eitz Chayim hi, the Torah is a tree of life. Lemachazikim ba, ba is Rashi Tevos b'midas ha'anava. And likewise, he explains the words la'ashma ba, ba is noitrikoin b'midas ha'anava. That the reason why this person is guilty is because he was deficient in ba, in the midah of anava, and therefore the beginning and the end of the parsha both sandwich the parsha. The small aleph reflects the midah of anava, the word ba b'midas ha'anava, and like we said on Wednesday from the Chidah, there are 111 psukim in Parshas Vayikra, because someone who is an anav, it's like he's makriv all the karbanos. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Amar Rebbe Lazar, Hevei kabel v'kayam, be humble and live. Rashi Tevos, Hey Kuf Vav, 111, which reflect 111 psukim in Parshas Vayikra. So this shows that the subject matter of Vayikra is humility. Begins with the small aleph, it ends with the word ba b'midas ha'anava. Now, this is really out of this world. There is an important introductory idea found in the writings of the Arizal about the secret of the small aleph, and the words of the Arizal are a foundational principle for many svarim that discuss this in great joy, and the Arizal is explaining the significance of the small aleph. Did anyone notice that Vayikra begins with a small aleph? Divrei Hayamim begins with a large aleph. Divrei Hayamim begins Adam with a big aleph. Why does Vayikra begin with a small aleph and Divrei Hayamim begin with a big aleph? The Arizal says like this: Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkai. Moses will rejoice with the gift of his share. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to Mekabel the Torah, so it was given to him 1,000 portions of light. 1,000 portions of light. That's merumas in the big aleph of Adam, Sheis, Enosh in Divrei Hayamim. And so Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went up to Har Sinai, he was given 1,000 portions of light. When Klal Yisrael sinned with the Egel, these 1,000 portions of light were nistalik mimeno, and all he was left with was 1 out of 1,000. That is merumaz in the small aleph of Vayikra. That is the great teaching of the Arizal. You know this Arizal? That when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai, he got 1,000 portions of light, and by the Chedo Egel, they were all taken away from him except for 1, and that is the significance of the small aleph. Now, because Moshe Rabbeinu did not participate in the Chedo Egel, so Hashem gives Moshe Rabbeinu the 1,000 portions of light from the portions that the Jewish people lost. What are these portions of light? They are the crowns that Hashem gave us in Har Sinai, Amnasav and Ishma. Like it says, Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es ed yamei har chorev. Moshe took them, so now the portions of light that were given to the Jewish people that they lost at the Egel were given to Moshe Rabbeinu. When does Moshe Rabbeinu get them? On Shabbos. On every Erev Shabbos, when Friday night comes, Moshe, he gets the light and he rejoices in it. And you know what he does? He takes it as Tosefes Kedusha Shabbos. But because Moshe Rabbeinu is so generous, when God gives him the light, he gives it back to us. Moshe Rabbeinu gives us the light on every Friday night. That's the Kedusha of Tosefes Shabbos. You know what Kedushas Tosefes Shabbos is? Kedushas Tosefes Shabbos is when you're makabel on yourself, let's say, 2 minutes before Shkia, Tosefes Shabbos. That's why it's Kedai Friday night to daven in a shul, that you're going to finish your Sal and Shemona Esrei before Shkia. Because if you don't finish your Sal and Shemona Esrei before Shkia, how do you get Tosefes Shabbos? It's going to be very difficult to get. You can't daven mincha if you're makabel Tosefes Shabbos. So this way you finish the Sal and Shemona Esrei, and some even recommend, or Shlomo Zalman would say you're makabel upon yourself Kedusha Shabbos a minute or two before the Shkia, even if it's during right before Kedusha. And the Tosefes Shabbos is the Kedusha, the Oiros that Moshe Rabbeinu returns to you. This is what it means. Yismach Moshe b'ma'anas chelkai. Moshe Rabbeinu is sameach on Shabbos. What is he sameach in? In the matana of his chelek that was lost from him. And now that he gets it back, he gives it to us as a matana. Why? Ki even neman karas alai. Because even though Hashem gave it to him to watch, on Shabbos he's an even neman to give it back to the owner. That's us. What is the matnas chelkai? Kalil Tiferes. It's the crown. Asher b'roshei nosat alai. That was given on his head, but under l'fanech al Har Sinai, and it was lost. He gives it back. Comes out. The reason why there's a small aleph in Vayikra is it reflects that Moshe Rabbeinu was left with only 1 out of 1,000 shares of light because of the Chedo Egel. However, wouldn't it be nice if somehow the end of the Parsha would connect to how Moshe Rabbeinu gets the 1,000 rays of light back? That would be a grand slam Pesacheinu Megadim. That would really be a grand slam Pesacheinu Megadim, even without a torpedo bat. That would be a grand slam Pesacheinu Megadim. Well, did you know that the Marva Shemesh brings from Rabbi Nachum Mendel Rimanov that the 2 final words of the Parsha, Le'ashma ba. Le'ashma ba stands for La'kel asher shavas mikal hamasim bayoim hashvi. In fact, many kehilos this Shabbos, when the Baal Koreh finishes laning and says Le'ashma ba, everyone calls out La'kel asher shavas mikal hamasim bayoim hashvi. Because the final 2 words of the Parsha stand for La'kel asher shavas mikal hamasim bayom hashvi hisala. And so it comes out unbelievable. The beginning of the Parsha, we read about the small aleph. According to the Arizal, it teaches us that Moshe Rabbeinu was left with only 1 out of the 1,000 rays of light. But the end of the Parsha tells us how Moshe Rabbeinu gets the rays of light back. How does he get the rays of light back? On Shabbos. La'ashma ba. Because by the way, the question is, isn't that an unusual ending for the Parsha? Aren't you supposed to end on a good note? How could the Parsha end on the note Le'ashma ba? By the way, I was looking at this final pasuk, la'ashma ba. What am I going to do with this? The Parsha ends, to be guilty in it. How does that tie into anything? And then Hashem illuminated my eyes. I found many Svarim bring from the Marva Shemesh that these words are Rashi Tevos for the light of Shabbos, Lakel Asher Shavas Mikol Amasim Bayom Hashvi Hisala Ayom V'Noira. So the Parsha begins, Moshe Rabbeinu only has 1/1000th of the light, and the end of the Parsha we learn how he gets it back. However, the Abir Yaakov adds something amazing. The Abir Yaakov says that the words Vayikra el Moshe is Gematria Shabbos. Vayikra el Moshe is Gematria 703 in Koilel. The words Vayikra el Moshe with the letters of those words is Gematria Shabbos in Koilel. To Merames that even though Moshe Rabbeinu is only left with 1/1000th of the light, like it's Merumas in the Aleph Zeira, on Shabbos Kodesh, it's returned to him. Likewise, we added the end of the Parsha is also Merames that it's returned to him, Lakel Asher Shavas Mikol Amasim. Now, here's an easy one. The Parsha begins, Adam. Adam. Rashi says, why does it say Adam? Why Adam? Just like Adam Arishain was not makriv from Gezela, so too you can be makriv from Gezel. And that's exactly the subject at the end of the Parsha. The end of the Parsha, the last subject at the end of the Parsha is Vahaya Ki Yechta V'Ashem V'Heshav V'Sagzela Asher Gazel. This morning my friend Rabbi Daniel Weinstein sent to me another one. You know, the Roikeach says, on the words Vayikra el Moshe, where Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, karbanos are wonderful when the Beis HaMikdash stands. What are we going to do when the Beis HaMikdash is not standing? So Hashem says, go to the end of the Parsha. La'ashma ba, when you're guilty, meaning, I guess, when the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. And what are the next words in Sav? The next words are, Zois Tairas Oila, if you can't bring an Oila, learn about it. So that's another connection between the beginning and the end. When Moshe Rabbeinu heard the beginning, he said, what are we going to do when the Beis HaMikdash is not standing? And Hashem said, turn to the end of the Parsha, La'ashma ba zois tairas ha'olah. Okay, Rabbi, say that is offering number 1 for today.